You're watching the Wellness Hour, the leader in medical news and information. I'm Randy Hours. Today's topic, the new breast implants that are giving patients better, more natural results than ever before. With us, we have an expert on the topic, Dr. Grant Stevens. Dr. Stevens, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you for having me.
Now, this is your topic. I mean, you do a lot of breast surgery.
Yes, I do.
Where you are. We've had you on the show before. But for people that don't know you and know your center, I know you're a board-certified plastic surgeon. Mm-hmm. I know that you're all over the news, right? I mean,
hopefully that's a good thing.
You're like, they say, you're the one to watch. They go, that Grant Stevens is the one to watch.
You're very kind.
But tell us a little bit about your practice in Marina, who's the typical patient, what are the services you offer? You do everything over there.
Well,
right?
We've been in Marina Del Rey for 30 years. I'm a board-certified plastic surgeon and a professor at USC, and we offer the whole host of plastic surgery. We have 3 plastic surgeons and estheticians and physician's assistants. We really offer everything, surgical and non-surgical, at Marina Plastic Surgery.
Okay, now this is one of those topics that I resisted because it seems like that augmentation, it seems to be straightforward.
Yeah, it seems like old news, right?
And you say that there's a lot of differences in
Absolutely.
how it's being done across the country. So let's start there.
It's huge. You know, everybody thinks the breast enlargement or breast augmentation is just making an incision, making a space and putting in a sac of saline or silicone. And then people wonder why there are so many ugly looking breast augmentations, and it's because they think of it that way. That's actually a very artistic operation.
Really?
Yeah, it requires planning and preparation, an artistic eye, and the right product. You know, sometimes you've heard garbage in, garbage out. Well, you know, breast augmentation's the same way. And there's a lot of bad breast augmentations.
Now, you brought a lot of breast implants here.
Right. Same manufacturer, all gummy bears, and we'll get to that, I hope.
All right. Yeah, what is it? Define this gummy bear implant. What is it?
Okay, well, let's first of all establish that there's never been an implant made of candy, right? Okay. So when I coined the term gummy bear breast implants back in 2003.
You came up with that?
Yes, I did.
Because everybody uses gummy bear.
Yeah, now they do. But in 2002, I was asked to start a study by Silomed to look at these new cohesive, form-stable silicone gel breast implants. This is a whole new approach to silicone. Instead of liquid silicone, it's form-stable, meaning it kept its shape even if you took the outside
What's the big benefit, though? Why that over another implant?
Well, there was the perceived benefit initially, and then since then we have the real documented benefits. So let me take them one by one. So the perceived benefit initially was that since they're not liquid, if God forbid something happened to them and they're semi-solid, it's not going to go around your body. And that was the perceived initial benefit. But it turns out there's a lot more benefits. We can make them shaped like a breast, like this elongated one. We can make them shaped like a breast that's circular. We can make them shaped like a breast that's more horizontal for a wide-chested woman. So we can make them unique shapes and thereby customize the look, because not all breasts look the same, and not all women look the same, and not all women want to look the same, and their chest walls are different. So with this gummy bear breast implant material, we can custom design implant shapes, implant sizes, and so forth.
So as far as custom shapes,
okay,
I've had guys, plastic surgeons, say, but Randy, once it's in there, gravity.
Yeah. I've heard that argument also.
Is that true or not?
It's not entirely true. Now, it is true in certain cases. For instance, if a woman has a large breast or a lot of subcutaneous fat and you put it under the muscle, you're right, you can sort of hide the shape. No question. And they wouldn't be a necessary candidate for a shaped breast implant. And Randy, I'm not saying everybody needs a shaped breast implant, because I still use more round than I do shapes. Okay, so I don't want this to be a shaped breast implant piece here.
Okay.
Because shaped implants can help certain women, but the round work just great in other women and so forth. And we can talk about the pros and cons.
Okay, so is it the thinner woman?
Yes.
Thinner skin?
Thinner woman with thinner skin, with small breasts, maybe no breast tissue. If you put this round one in, underneath this thin skin, this tight skin, it looks like a coconut. It doesn't look appealing to me. You know, everybody has their own sense of aesthetics. I like a slopey, natural breast. I don't like that boob job look. Some people in Hollywood or Vegas or Dallas maybe like it, but my patients come to see me in the Marina. They like that slope look, the natural look, and it has to be something believable. something I would say could occur in nature. So you have a 5 foot tall, 100-pound woman that never really had more than an A-cup breast. You put a high-profile round implant, it's going to look like a coconut.
Does that happen?
Happens all over town, and I don't like it. Now, some women
Does
like
it frustrate you a little bit?
No. I mean, everybody's free to have their own sense of aesthetics. It frustrates me when a woman comes in and says, I don't look the way I wanted to look. I look like I had a boob job. And I say, you know, I do breast augmentation. I don't do boob jobs. And everybody knows what a boob job is. And all these guys say, oh, I always can tell. Well, you can always tell the bad ones, right? When you see a beautiful breast and it looks like it could occur naturally, and it has a nice shape and so forth, it's natural, you don't know. So we talked about
So it's like in that slope. So if it's
Yes.
slopey, like natural.
like a breast really does, right?
Interesting.
Breasts don't look like coconuts. They look teardrop. They look shaped.
So there's a lot of judgment then on the surgeon as far as what implant to put,
Yes.
what size to put,
Yes,
all those things.
it matters. This
Okay.
is where it matters. The manufacturer matters. All three manufacturers are excellent. I'm not here to trash the other two manufacturers, but I will tell you that the Sientra breast implants, these Gummy Bears by Sientra, are the best. Now, how do I know that? I've worked for all three manufacturers. I've done research on all three implants. I've published it. I've worked for all three of them, or worked with them. I've lectured for all three. But I'm telling you now, even this month, we're publishing an 8-year follow-up with 35 doctors, 35 surgeons. This is just not me. We have the lowest capsular contraction rate, the lowest complication rate. So women know if they get these, they have the lowest complication rate. They also know they must have a board-certified plastic surgeon, and that's because this company will only sell these devices to board-certified plastic surgeons. The other two companies sell to anybody. You want to buy them,
Interesting.
you can buy them. But Sientra, uniquely, and only Sientra, will only sell these to board-certified plastic surgeons. So if you see somebody and they say, you don't want gummy bears, or I don't have Sientra, you can think to yourself, they're probably not a board-certified plastic surgeon. And you can check me out on this.
How do they feel?
You
Feel
know,
more
a lot of
natural?
people say they're going to be hard because they see gummy bear. Feel them. If
So
you
they're
feel
soft.
these, they're soft.
It's like flesh.
It's like a breast.
Now they're textured, and you have a shiny one over
Right,
there.
we'll talk about that. Absolutely.
what is that?
The other thing is, I want to show you that these shaped ones are here, but the round ones come in high profile and moderate profile. And that could be also based on.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
Okay, the projection. So your doctor will talk about high profile or moderate profile or even low profile. The other thing is a lot of people say, well, I just want a little breast implant. I just want to be a little fuller but not larger. And that's the funny thing I get. Doc, I want to be fuller but not larger. Never figured out exactly how you're fuller and not larger, but I want to show you. This is the smallest Gummy Bear breast implant. It's 175 cc's. I call it a Beverly Hills cheek implant. So they come this small. You also asked me about the texturing, and I want to show you.
So, by the way, you use these. There are certain patients that would benefit from this small of an implant.
Yeah, they would be a patient in whom we're doing a breast lift. She's lost her fullness. She's got beautiful breasts, but they're a little saggy, and she wants to be lifted, but a little fuller up here, up on top. And we'll use these small ones. Okay. Or if a woman just wants a small implant, although this is tiny. Okay, not many want this for a straight augment unless they have pretty full breasts to start.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you asked me about texturing. This is a smooth one, you can see, and this is a textured one.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with smooth. I happen to know, however, based on years of research, that if you use textured, you have a lower complication rate and a lower revision rate. Now, a lot of Americans disagree with me. A lot of American plastic surgeons will tell you that that's nonsense.
I've heard that.
Yeah, but let me tell you the facts. First of all, we do about 300,000 breast reductions in America a year. The world does about 700,000. So they do about twice as many than we do. We're not number one when you compare to the world. The world does 90% textured, 10% smooth. And they have access to both. And they want great results.
So the majority are using these textured implants.
All over the world.
But not here.
Now, do you remember back in 1992, 1993, and 94, we had the moratorium on silicone gel, and everybody had to use saline?
I don't remember that part.
You were alive, and you know it.
Well, no, I mean, this was not my focus, right?
Yeah, okay. Well, years ago, the American government took silicone gel breast implants out of most of the plastic surgeons' hands, not all of us, thankfully, and made us use saline breast implants. And I'm sure you've heard of saline.
Yes.
Well, the textured saline did not perform well at all. They ruptured, they felt crummy. And so we had generations of American surgeons fall in love with smooth saline. That's all they knew. So 90% of the implants were smooth, 10% were textured, just the opposite of the rest of the world. But in the rest of the world, they had access to everything. They didn't use saline. Who wants a water balloon in your chest? So the rest of the world...
So you don't use saline?
Oh, heavens no.
I have felt them on my show.
They feel like a water balloon.
It is, yeah.
Well, you know what?
It doesn't give. Like, this is
They
fleshy
feel like a
tissue.
water balloon because they are a water balloon. They're a high-priced water balloon. How are they any different than a water balloon? It's got an outside that's plastic, inside that's water. Just saline breast implants.
So those are out.
Well, in
your
my
hand.
opinion, they are.
Are they still being done? People still?
Some people still use them.
Interesting.
And they have ripples, and they feel like a water balloon, and they get cold. I can't.
Is it
imagine.
just because they're less expensive?
Well, they are less expensive, and some people still perceive it as a health risk.
Really?
Yep. But it's changing. It's changing. A lot more Americans are using silicone products than saline. But then the issue about texturing, there's still more smooth than textured being used in America, not in the world. But that's changing. It's changing right now because our research has shown conclusively, with many, many doctors involved in these studies, with thousands of patients, that if you use a texture and you put it under the muscle, you'll have the lowest complication rate and the lowest revision rate.
Complications mean they don't get hard?
They don't get hard.
Okay.
And you don't have other problems. Now, it's not zero. It's still less
It's
than
just
2%.
better.
Much better.
The stats
Markedly
are better.
better. Markedly. So in some cases, 4 times better.
Would you say 80% of surgeons, plastic surgeons across the country, are not using those?
Probably 20% or less are using the Sientra, the gummy bears I've described today. But that number is rising. But they were only authorized a few years ago, FDA approved. I've been using them since 2002. I was one of the lead researchers since 2002, and I put thousands of them in and was instrumental in getting these approved with the FDA.
If somebody says the problem with this gummy bear implant, it's bigger incisions.
Okay, I've
that
heard that
true?
before. It's not true. Absolutely not true.
When you Google that.
Yeah, but it's not true. The incision is the same. And they also say you can't use the nipple, and if you want, you can. I use more inframammary folds now with these, but the incision is not bigger. Now, it's a little bit bigger than saline, but it's not bigger than my other gel implants.
So if you're giving advice on this show, you're not paid for by this Sienna company.
No, not
this
paid a
gummy
penny.
bear, that's the term for it, the slang term that you came up with.
I don't think it's that slangy.
Should they ask their doctor, in your opinion, do you offer this implant?
I would. We know it has the lowest complication rate, the lowest revision rate. It looks the best. It feels the best. Why wouldn't you ask
Why
for
aren't
it?
they all doing it? I mean, logically sitting
They
here.
cost more. Some of the docs
Oh.
don't want to pay the extra charge for it. Some of them
Like
aren't
thousands
board.
more?
No, hundreds more.
A couple hundred more?
Yeah, a few $100s more.
That's nothing.
But for the lifetime happiness and the lowest complication rate, it's way offset. But some of them aren't real plastic surgeons. They're not board certified plastic
So
surgeons.
they're not allowed to even buy these?
They can't even buy them. So if you're not a board certified plastic surgeon, of course you're going to say these things aren't that great. You can't get them, right? So what do you expect them to say?
Okay, good. Okay, so let's talk about where you place your incisions.
Okay. Well,
There's, I guess, many areas.
Sure, you can do, in general, for breast enlargement, you can use the belly button, the fold, the nipple, or the armpit. And let's go through that. The first thing, when patients say to me, which incision do I like to do? I say the incision that my patient wants. So in general, where I can, I allow the patient to decide. Now, of course, I'll talk to her about the pros and cons. For instance, I don't do the belly button incision with these because you can only do it with saline breast implants. I don't use saline. So since I don't use saline, I don't use the belly button.
Okay.
Okay, so we got that done. I also don't use the armpit incision very often. I have used it. I don't particularly care for it. Some of my friends who are excellent surgeons love it, and I say, terrific. That's great.
But you don't like it because?
Because in the cases where it's visible, it's always visible. Now, I know most of the time it heals great, and I defer to them. But those times where it's not great, where it's raised and ropey or red or visible, you can't hide it. And to me, I'd rather have the incision under the fold or around the nipple. Now, I prefer the fold in terms of the lowest instance of complications. Historically, I've done more incisions, however, around the nipple. So I know this sounds schizophrenic. Let me elaborate.
All right.
For 25 years, I did the nipple incision more than the fold incision.
Meaning you're putting the implant through the nipple area?
Through the areola, the lower portion of the nipple. I still think it's a great approach. But the research has shown we can actually decrease the capsular contraction rate and make a safer operation in the fold. So if a woman has a natural fold, and only if she has a natural fold, I encourage her to consider it. Again, I want to remind you, the woman chooses. I don't choose. If she says I want the fold, I do it. If she says I want the nipple.
Are you doing 50% in the fold?
Now I am. Okay. Now I'm doing about 50-50, but a couple years ago it was more like 85 or 90 to 10 to 15. And you know the pendulum swings too. A lot of women are on Real Self and looking at stuff, and a lot of the women are coming in and asking for the fold more. So this is kind of almost a fashion topic.
Because of Google, do they come in nowadays? They know their size. They know everything.
Oh,
is that happening now?
It's unbelievable now with the internet. But let's talk about how we pick a size. Let's talk about Vectra. Because up until now, a lot of your guests and probably a lot of people you've talked to said, well, just put them in the bra and see how they feel. Or let's look at a picture. Okay. Along comes Vectra. Have you heard of Vectra?
I think so. It's like imaging software?
Yeah, imaging. So we bring the woman in. We put her in front of this special camera that's actually 5 cameras. 5 cameras shoot like that. And the software puts it all together.
So you take a picture of her.
Picture of her from her waist up. No face. And it puts it together and gives us a 3-dimensional image of her. So 5 pictures morphed into 1, 3D. We can move her all around, upside down, twirl her around, and so forth. We ship that into each room, to whatever room she's in. So she gets the Vectra. We send her to whatever room she's going to be examined in, and I'm going to see her. And now I have this picture of her. And what's really cool, Randy, it's like we can give it a ride around the block. We can put every size in. We can put every shape in.
Is it accurate?
It's very accurate. I've done studies since then. I've worked with them, and we've taken pictures of the real deal after the surgery with the same 5 cameras and put them up against the prediction. We've been doing this for years now. And the predicted breast and the actual breast look almost identical with this caveat. The real ones look better. But the size looks about the same.
Now, I've seen it on nasal surgery or rhinoplasty.
Sure.
So on breast, you could say that's a 300, that's a 400, that's a whatever.
It's crazy. Let me tell you, I haven't told you the whole thing. Yeah.
Okay.
All the manufacturers, all the sizes, all the styles, plus we can put a bikini on them or a tank top. So think about this. She says, I got an A, a B, I want to be a C, a large C, say, and I plug it in, and we start with a moderate profile round. I notice she's got a long chest, so then I take the oblique shaped and I put it next to it. Now she's looking at herself, the round, and the anatomic. Which one do you like the best shape-wise? I twirl it around, but we're not done.
Okay.
What shape she likes? Well, let's make it bigger or smaller. Let's have some fun with it. You ever thought about being Dolly Parton? You want to see how big it can look? And she giggles, and up we go. 1, 2, 3, go all the way up. They giggle and have fun. We go all the way back down. You want to see a bathing suit top on it? It actually is a ton of fun. And here's the thing. We can send the images home with them. They can take the pictures with their camera. No more guesswork. I show them before and afters with the Vectra with other patients and say, tell me which one is surgical and which one is non-surgical. And they usually can't tell. I can tell because I said, my surgery is better than the Vectra. But they don't have to guess anymore. With the Vectra, we have decreased the number of size revisions almost to 0 because they've given it a ride around the block, a test drive. Give your breast a test drive, right? You want to see what a C looks like? Boom, let's put in the 325s or 350s or whatever.
So the end result is people get a better breast augmentation because of it.
Absolutely.
Because it fits their personality or their body type.
What their needs are. Yeah, breasts aren't static. You know, they get bigger and smaller throughout the month and so forth. This way women can kind of think about it for a few weeks. We don't go right from the consult to surgery, right? So women think about it for a while. And, they say, I want to be a little bigger than that. How would I look? A little smaller. How would I look? And
so they must love this, by the way.
Oh God, they love it. Like I said, honest to God, I wouldn't do it without it anymore. At this point, I mean, I could, and I usually look at pictures. I don't buy this business about putting the implant in the bra. I never thought that made much sense because you're just putting on as an applique. It doesn't really show what it's going to look like. I know some people like that.
It's just not accurate in your opinion.
I don't think so. It's not that accurate. It usually results in smaller than they want. Because if you just put it on the chest, it looks that big, but by the time you put it underneath the skin and such, it's smaller.
So when you see things that, I looked around, knowing you're coming on, high breasts or breasts that are very high, or not symmetrical or whatever, oftentimes is that in the hands of the surgeon?
Absolutely.
It's not just healing the healing process?
It's usually in the hands of the surgeon. It's usually, as we call a surgical misadventure. It's rarely the fault of the implant. Now, if the implant is a smooth implant under the gland, not under the muscle, it's going to get harder more often, and that's a capsular contracture, and then it can get distorted. So I'm not suggesting that the implant doesn't matter, because I've just told you these gummy bears, these Sientra implants, are the best. So the implants matter. But if I had a choice between a good surgeon or a good implant, or one of the three implants, I'd pick a good surgeon, because the surgeons have more to do with this than the implants.
So you're big on these Sientra implants, Sientra implants, Gummy Bear implants, and they only cost about $300 more or something like that. It's not that much more.
A few $100s more, especially the shaped a little more. I can't tell you the exact
number. And do you think
number.
Patients should demand and say, "Are you using these implants?"
I think they should. Okay. It'd be a great filter for them to find out if a person is board certified right off the bat. They also find out if they're using the best implant on the market.
Now, you've done about 10,000.
Over 10,000.
10,000 procedures.
Over 10,000 breast augmentations.
And are you that much better than you were 5 years ago? I mean, do you develop like an eye for it? Better judgment, obviously?
Yeah. It takes a while to become an absolute expert. We've read the book probably Turning Point, or Tipping Point.
Tipping
Point. I'm way past that tipping point, certainly for breast enlargement and breast surgery. Am I much better now than I was 5 years ago? I'm not sure. I'm at least as good. I hope I'm better.
People
I hope I'm better every year.
your...
They fly in from all over the place, but I hate to think that 5 years ago I wasn't killing it. So it's hard for me to say 5 years ago I didn't do a great job, because I know I did. Am I better now? I'm at least as good, maybe a little better. Let's hope so.
And also go to a surgeon that has this machine that can...
The Vectra. You don't have to have it, but I'll tell you, it puts the surgeon head and shoulders above the rest. If nothing else, just for the patient. She can get an idea of what she's going to look like. She doesn't know exactly what she's going to look like. Just because her friend has the 250s or 350s doesn't mean she's going to, because that supposes that they both started with the same. Or that they have both the same chest wall, right? So when women say, well, Betty Sue has 400, I want 400, and I'm looking at somebody that's already pretty big, you put a 400 in that person, and she's going to be gigantic. So
what about cleavage? And we're almost out of time, but I mean, is that something...
Most people want cleavage. Every now and then...
Can you have impact on cleavage?
Oh, yeah. We can create more or less cleavage. It's amazing to me. Randy, some women literally have asked me for less cleavage, very infrequently. But on one day alone, I'll never forget this, a woman said to me, you know what I'm talking about. She says, I want my breast to show on the sides when I'm walking away from somebody. You know what I mean, a really pretty breast. And I looked at her, and that very day, the next person said, well, you know what I'm talking about, whatever. I don't want my breast to show on the side when I'm walking away. I want all cleavage. Back-to-back patients, two completely different sense of aesthetics. Think about it. So you have to listen to the patient. They're not all the same. And if you don't, you're going to stamp out cookie cutter breasts, the coconuts, the cookie cutters. And I don't want to do that.
Are there more people today that are getting breast augmentation that years ago would completely rule it out? I mean, It's become really mainstream now.
Absolutely. We went through that phase in the 90s during the moratorium and the early 2000s where it fell out of favor. It is screaming popular right now. It's very hot. It's in mainstream America. The trend is not too big, though. The trend I see is natural, don't go too big. So downsizing, I think, is really the trend.
As far as self-esteem changes, because a lot of people are bothered by the size of the breast.
Yes.
I mean, do you see Like,
well, some people had them and lost them with having their kids, and they want their breasts back. Other people didn't have them, had kids, kind of like their fullness when they were breastfeeding or pregnant. They say, hey, that's not so bad. They go back to where they were, and they said, I kind of liked it up there in that B plus C range. And so they come in and they want it back. Then there's the ones that never had breasts. And they never had breasts as a teenager, in college, or 20-year-olds, and they're just tired of that. They want the breasts, because the clothing fits better, they feel more feminine, more confident, and they say, I just genetically never developed breasts, can you help me with that?
Now, you published more articles than most guys, right, on breasts?
Yes.
All right. And you're kind of a celebrity. I mean, you are a world famous surgeon. I've mentioned on some of those shows that I've never met a dermatologist, plastic surgeon that doesn't know who you are, right? And most of them were very impressed when they heard you were coming on the show. That I finally made it, right? They go, man, Randy, you're getting these good guests.
I don't know if I'd
true.
go that far.
I had a guy.
I finally made it. I finally got to be on your show.
I don't want to mention his name. He's in Orange County, and he was, maybe he was being sarcastic, but it doesn't have to cost more to go to a guy at the top of his game.
Well, listen, there's a lot of bottom feeders in breast augmentation, and I like to say you can always pay less for an inferior product. So I'm not the cheapest in town.
But you're about the same.
But I'm fair. I'm fair.
You're right there where everybody else is.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. You have financing. Are people financing these procedures these days?
We have a number of financing companies that we work with, and we just keep it the best we can for the patient. We don't internally finance it, but we have the financing companies we work with, 2 in particular who are terrific. They take great care of the patients, different packages, 12 months, 24, 36, and different rates and so forth.
Okay, good.
And our patient coordinators are well-versed. We're here to have patients for life. Today's breast augmentation is tomorrow's mommy makeover and the next day's facelift, or next decade's facelift. So we want to keep people in our practice for life.
Do you have many of those people?
Many. And I'm working on a book called Patients for Life. I trademarked it, and our Patients for Life is our mantra. And we are, ladies and gentlemen, here to take care of ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, if people want to see these photos because we couldn't show them on the show,
yes.
Where do they go?
MarinaPlasticSurgery.com. That's the easiest. One can go to GummyBearBreastImplants.com and just get the Gummy Bear pictures. One could go to amommymakeover.com. There's a lot of sites you can go to. I'd say the primary site would be MarinaPlasticSurgery.com.
Okay. All right, thanks again for coming on the show. Great stuff. Always great.
Thank you.
You've been watching The Wellness Hour. I'm Randy Alvarez. For now, I wish you good health.
Thanks for watching The Wellness Hour, the leader in medical news with your host, Randy Alvarez, the authority on health issues.